Of course. Every time there's exactly one trick and it works, and it just cuts off on my counterplay.
Danya has had it up to here with Hans Niemann's tricks in this mini blitz match they played on chess.com in September 2023. There's some real gems in here, and this is one of them. Danya here has got the white pieces. He's frustrated on the back foot, just lost the last game, hands with black and coming up with the tricks. Let's check this one out. So Danya kicks off with e4. We get e5 from Hans, knight f3, knight c6 and bishop b5, the Roy Lopez. a6 chases back the bishop. You can exchange, the exchange variation, but you don't truly win a pawn because the queen comes here. You win that pawn back with the double attack on knight and pawn. So instead bishop a4, it just retreats. Knight f6 developing, and now Danya goes for this very tricky variation himself, pawn d4 here, known as the Mackenzie variation technically. Now captures was played and is best, because if you go d6 it's very passive and gives white these options to start taking here, potentially ruin your castling rights. So this one played. Good move, e5 immediately possible, but Danya starts with castles, bishop e7 now and e5 on the board. A very scary variation if you don't know these opening moves. You know, knight d5, should it be played? Well, knight e4 is actually the best move, tried and tested, more aggressive, and after this exchange of pieces here on d4, not forced by the way, you also could have castled different moves. Queen recaptures. This knight looks stuck out on a limb, right? But this is the point. It slides into c5, hits that bishop there, supported by this one. Black is alive and kicking and about to pick up the bishop pair. So castles from Hans. He's in no rush. Now we see knight c3. Pawn d6 challenges this big centre here, and so rook d1 lines up with the black queen, and if takes, queen recaptures, rook is open, playable but different game. So instead, knight takes on b3, played by Hans. Now normally you capture towards the centre, right? It's the best way to go. But the engine actually wants to capture away from the centre here. Danya doesn't do it, but the reason this one isn't as accurate, it's subtle stuff, is that after bishop f5, eyeballing c2, there's no comfortable way to defend that pawn. You know, if rook d2, well, it's pretty clumsy, blocking your bishop. If queen d2, well, now you've left the defense of this. Black can win a clean pawn. Good game. So what did Danya do? He hops in with knight d5, and at this point he's already mumbling, you know, I almost want to resign this game, he says. He spends about a minute on his next move after bishop takes on c2, hitting this and a pawn. What to do? He eventually takes on e7, burns a whole third of his time here. Queen recaptures, it was check, lovely little Zwischenzug by the way. That's an in-between move, and Hans picks up a pawn after the rook moves. So he's 2 pawns to the good here. Pressure on Danya. What can he come up with? Well, this is where he goes for a big attack. So first bishop f4, connecting his rooks, supporting that centre. This now a threat, of course. So Hans goes d5 here, and after rook a3, this is actually quite dangerous for black, because the bishop is hit, the rook's threatening to slide over. You know, what would you play in this position here if you've got black, right? Bishop c4, for example, looking very, very natural. But this is where Hans comes up with a much trickier move. Nice tactical awareness. He plays the move of pawn to c5, hitting the queen. This is where we get the reaction of Danya.
Of course, got c5 and c4. Every time there's exactly one trick and it works, and it just cuts off on my counterplay.
So what's the point of this one? Well, after the queen retreats, now you go c4, cementing this bishop there. It's grim for white. What is this rook now doing? So Danya activates to a different square. threatening the center, but guess what? You don't even need to cover it. You know, don't go rook f to d8, walk into bishop g5. That would be a nice blunder. No, b6 is played. Excellent move, because if the rook captures, mistake, again, test your tactical awareness, right? There's a problem with this, and it's c3. You hit queen, and you backwards hit the rook. Backwards moves, not always tricky, easy to spot. So this is how the line would go. Black and exchange ahead, doing great. So after b6, Danya's got to meekly retreat his rook, queen e6, and what a blockader that is. Pawn going nowhere, which means bishop's dead. Center held. Meantime, these are running. That's a 3-on-1 you've got here. 4-on-1 if you even start pushing that. Not fun. So bishop e3 from Danya. Pawn a5 played. Now bishop d4. A wooden shield in the center, as Hikari would say. a4 and rook e3. This is Danya's point of the bishop maneuver. He wants to attack. We get b5, rook g3, and now I find this moment very instructive because white only has one attacking idea, and it's queen g5 threatening this mate. So what should you do about that? Well, the top defensive move here is the very simple pawn to h6. No longer is that square available for the white pieces, plus the king can now sidestep. The queen covers this square, so there's no tactics with takes. Everything stays rock solid blockaded. Very, very nice. You can't even bring the queen to g4, not without exchanging the ladies. So that was the way to go, but not played. Rook fb8 selected instead, but now look at this attack. Queen g5 comes. g6 to parry the mate. If this one, by the way, you slide the queen back, you open the rook, you can get some kind of perpetual, which just leads to a draw. So in the game, g6, but now rook f3. Danya is getting some entry points here, and hands goes disastrously wrong. He should bring this rook across here, preparing to try and challenge that strong rook on f6 in just a moment. But he carries on, not looking before he leaps, butchered that joke, but going b4. And now Danya gets this epic invasion, right? And things are so bad that the computer wants to go rook b7, sacrifice the queen, and try and defend this rank. That's how grim it is. But the queen retreats to e8. Look at the evaluation bar react. It's now mate in 9. How has Danya turned this around? Just by getting the wrong defensive pawn push. That's how much chess can turn, because e6 now comes. Very thematic idea, opening the scope of this sniper and what to do. You know, all roads lead to disaster here. This is a huge threat. Everything's crashing through. So Hans, he takes this pawn here, but now how do you finish the game? What's the top move here for mate in 6? Test your attacking skills, right? Well, it's queen to e5. Rook e1, also a good move. This was the final move of the game. Hans resigns. You maybe didn't expect that one, right? Thought he would win this, but no, he didn't. Why the resignation? Well, the mate is coming. You know what to do. Say queen e7 to cover that square. Well, you just retreat the rook here to f4 or f3, and you're getting mated in the corner because the rook also covers the f-file. Absolutely game over. Great game there by Danya, turning it around in a horrible position. And if you liked this one, then check out the one on screen. Another incredible game between these two guys. And if you want to join the greatest chess community in the world, check out the link in the description below. Get way more access to myself, members only videos, play me, play others, so much more interactive, loads going on. Check it out below. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.